And I just want to ask one question. What's up with girls in the future not wearing bras? Like, I want to understand that. Like,
I mean, Leia did it when she was a slave
no,
in
yeah,
Star
no.
Wars.
No, but if you think about when Leia wasn't a slave, she didn't have a bra on either.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, I guess it sort of it becomes out of fashion, you know. Hashtag free the nip. You know what I mean? I, I,
And
I, I, I mean, I don't know. I think because Faye. Let me tell you, but before before we talk about this,
mhm,
Faye, to me, her character design is the only thing that indicates to me that this was animated uh, by like Japanese people, that it's an anime
mhm,
and not like a Western classic cartoon.
yeah,
Uh, um, but yeah, no, she really doesn't wear a bra, and it's just I guess it's just a big style change, you know. I mean, you think about it. We before girls had bras today, they used to wear corsets, and that
mhm,
would act as their bra, and that would like constrict them. So I guess
yeah,
the females were like, "Hey, I don't want to be so constricted and feel like I'm dying, so let me just wear a bra." And then they're probably like, "Well, my chest feels constricted now, so let me just wear a sweater and like a crop top that goes all the way to my underboob and chill." You know?
no, but yeah, and she kind of uses all of that. She has that seduction factor that really plays into the femme fatale thing, where like I said before, she gets what she uses it to get what she wants, whether it's information or the bounty itself. And I really enjoyed that about her, and also about her past. I really like you said, like she looked into her past, and when she finally found out about her past, there was nothing left of her past for her to remember except that one old schoolmate that's like in her 90s. She's like, "Oh, you remember me? Like I was your high school classmate," and she gets this feeling of nostalgia, and just like everything has continued on and left her behind in the past. So
Yeah.
when the old lady tells her granddaughter, "Oh, this is," she says, I'm just a ghost," because at that point in time, she's just in the past. She's just not she not only is there no record of her, she completely doesn't exist anymore. There's soon to be nothing else that will carry a memory of her. So that's why she says, "I'm just a ghost." And I
Mm.
really thought that held deeper meaning. And also the point when she gets to her old house, the destroyed house, and she draws that one square, and she lies there, and the home she once had, and the home she wanted to see and wanted to know wasn't there for her anymore. It was gone. It was just rubble. It was reduced to ashes, and that really helped her not develop as a character, but really helped you tap into her emotions on why she's the way she is, and why she was so obsessed with the past, wanting to get to know who she really was. And when she had the opportunity, there was nothing for her to look into the past to say who was I really.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was a sort of one of the bittersweet tragic endings of Bebop and her character, her story arc as well.
Oh, dude, her character is super tragic, or her
Yeah,
story arc is super tragic because if you just look at it, like the last scene of her, like the last image of her in the entire show is just her breaking down
yeah,
because because Spike's leaving,
yeah,
and it's just it's sad, bro.
yeah. It is. And then also going back into like not tragic but a sad past as well is Jet, Jet Black. He was a former ISSP until he got shot. He got backstabbed by his partner, lost his arm, and then his girlfriend, who he once had, just left him without saying anything and just left him a broken watch, or a watch that eventually stopped ticking. And I kind of like the symbolism of that watch because it shows how he himself is stuck in time. Remembering the thoughts, remembering the past. Like, why did she leave me without saying a word? And then when you get to the episode where he finally meets back with his ex, she's moved on. Time has passed him by, but not her. She moved on with time. She got a new boyfriend. She had a new life for herself. And
Yeah,
I really like how, Jet was able to look back on the past, help himself move forward when he didn't arrest her new boyfriend.
mm,
And also like the symbolism of when he throws the watch into the water. It just shows that he's forgotten about the past and he's moved on from the past and is ready to move forward. And I really enjoyed Jet's story arc as well, and just his past. That cool ex cop turned PI turned bounty hunter, and I thought
Oh
it was really
yeah.
interesting. And
No,
then the
it was definitely
1950s
really really
gangster,
interesting to see.
the 1950s gangster vibe he had when you look into his past, the way he wore his suit, his hat, the chase, they were all in black and white. And I was
Oh
thinking about the
yeah.
mafia, and it was really interesting. I really liked Jet's story arc as well.
Jet's story arc is definitely. I mean, I think to me that story arc is the most satisfying,
Hmm.
um, or at least the most wholesome, because at the end he's happy being a bounty hunter, and
Yeah.
he understands Spike and knows that he's dead. He knows
Hmm.
that when he went to go after the syndicate, he was going to be a dead man,
Yeah.
but he accepted everything, and he's just such a man.
Yeah. What a man! What
I
a man's man!
what a man's man. He's just such an amazing guy.
Yeah.
I really liked him.
And you see, like, sort of he contrasts while Faye and Spike are more, uh, head first, uh, quick to react. Jet is the more logical and more conscious guy. Like, let's not go in head first. Let's plan this out. Let's make a plan instead of rushing head first like Spike and Faye.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's why he's their leader. He's the Bebop's leader
Yeah.
because he's the only cool-headed guy. And like most comedies have uh, everybody wacky except one straight guy, and
Hmm.
Jet would be that straight guy. You know,
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
he understands everything, and they actually deconstruct that aspect of his life too, in regards to his old relationship with
Yeah.
his ex-lover, where she left him because she wanted to live her own life and didn't want to just focus on, or didn't want to just be at the tail ends of Jet, who knew everything and could tell everything, and he would be right every single time. She wanted to live
Yeah.
her own life,
She wanted
which
to live
was
in her mistakes, or she wanted to make mistakes, but at least they were her mistakes, that sort of thing.
yeah,
And I
that
kind of
was
I
her
kind
whole
of
thing.
understand like her viewpoint, but at the same time, like it's better to you can make mistakes while you're still logical or cool headed. At the same time, I feel like that's what really makes Jet such a good character, and as you said, like a good leader. He's the leader of the Bebop because of
Yeah.
his cool headedness, his logicness, and the way he not that he's always right, but the way he knows how to predict things and knows how everything will turn out eventually.
Mm.
So I really enjoyed all the characters. As I said before, Ed, he was more of the he served as there to contrast while everybody was living in their lives in the past. He was living his life in the present, mainly because Ed didn't know a lot about his past because he's just a kid. So he lived in the present, and he was just that ray of sunshine, that comedic relief to not make everything so grudgy and dark, and make everything a deeper meaning. Some episodes just made you laugh. Some things were just funny, the way he acted and the way he chemistry he had with other members of the crew as well, and that was just a great comedic relief. And I do like the way his story ended, the way he said bye to the Bebop crew. He left with Iron with all his gear. He just said bye bye on the Bebop's deck, and just left without a clue. It was an abrupt goodbye, but a satisfying at the same time, knowing that he actually said goodbye and he had them in mind.
Yeah. Dude, Ed was probably. Man, I almost cried when Ed left because
Yeah.
I love her. You know,
Hmm.
there's an entire episode. I think it's called something shrooms or mushrooms
Hmm. Oh,
or
with the mushrooms. Yeah.
mushroom samba,
Yeah, mushroom samba.
and just seeing like Ed and Ian play off each other for the entire episode is amazing.
Yeah.
and it comes right at the heels of I think the episode right before the Real Folk Blues Part One,
Yeah.
where she just leaves, and I get so sad because I don't know, because Ed is the only one that really chases after their own present and
Yeah.
decides of their own volition to do to just go on their own path and
Hmm.
instead, or and to progress in life instead of going down the rabbit hole of confronting your past.
Yeah, because one of the episodes, I think it touches on his past. He used to be an orphan and things like that. When his dad finds him, his dad just, just leaves him off, and then he leaves him without taking Ed with him.
Hmm.
And he said, like, 5 minutes before, Ed, I want you to be with me. And he just drops him and leaves. And Ed, he knew that that was his dad, but at the same time, he knew that it didn't matter because, like, it's his dad, or he really didn't know his dad, so he really can't say, oh, like, Dad, why'd you leave me? Or, like, why did he leave me? Because he was never deep with him to begin with. So the way he was able to just to brush it off and continue his life forward was one of the good parts, the good aspects about him too, and what really contrasted him from the rest of the crew, that he was able to move forward, you know, chase the present and not the past.
Yeah, no, and I really admired him
Yeah,
or her for that. I don't know.
yeah,
They play around with his gender or her
yeah.
gender.
I think no,
um,
it's a her. It's a her, I believe.
yeah, no,
She's
they
just
always
she's
call her
just
her.
named Ed. She's just named Ed.
Yeah, she's just named Ed,
I was
but
confused about that too.
yeah, but yeah, no, I mean, I love Ed. I love her antics, her everything. She was a great addition to the Bebop crew because definitely
Yeah.
without her, it would be a lot more melodramatic,
Hmm.
and I think it would be a lot less interesting.
Yeah.
And the great thing is, I would usually hate a character like Ed,
Hmm.
um, but they use her so well and so strategically to never make you so annoyed that you want to turn off
Yeah.
your episode, but also making her really fun to just watch and listen to,
Hmm.
while also adding to the narrative and having her goodbye to me as one of the saddest ones. You know,
Yeah.
if not, only beaten out by Spikes.
Yeah. That's true. And honestly, I just gotta say a quick thing. I absolutely love Steve Bloom's voice in Cowboy Bebop. The voice actor who plays Spike, just the way his voice fits together, fits in everything. That coolness, that calm collectiveness that his voice has was able to define the character really well.
Dude, I have never. It I watched I saw a few clips of the Japanese version of Cowboy Bebop,
Hmm.
and I really can't imagine the show being anything other than in English. Like, I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
That, yeah. It's honestly, it's fine. Like I told you, this is one of the only animes you could actually watch in English because the voice actors did such an amazing job. It just fits so well.
Yeah, no, I mean, I watched I listened to the Japanese version of Spike,
Hmm.
and I just didn't think it fit his character at all,
Yeah.
or at least his body. But
Yeah.
when I listened to the English version of Spike, I'm like, whoa,
Yeah.
now that now that
That's
fits.
yeah. And
No,
also, just another thing to touch at, I like the little like you know how we said that it pokes at certain tropes. I also like some of the references that Watanabe makes in the show. I think it's I forgot the episode. What's the name of the session? When they first take Einen. I forgot the name of that episode. Um,
jamming Edward.
Jet. Really? Was it
Oh wait, no, that's for Ed.
for Ein?
Ein, Ein, I don't remember.
No, but I remember for Ein, the way Spike uses the nunchucks in the fight he has with, I forgot his name, but the guy with the fro, was it?
We'll just say the
Uh,
guy with the fro.
Hold on. So it's all up. I have it on Hulu. Let me just look it up real quick.
Okay.
Cowboy Bebop, release for you. Keep watching. Details. Asteroid Blues. Stray Dog Strut. Uh,
Oh, okay.
uh, Research Laboratory, but doesn't say who. But when he's talking, or at least in that episode when Spike's talking to that one guy, the arms dealer, and he gets the nunchucks. That was a reference to Bruce Lee's, I think, Enter the Dragon, when he uses his nunchucks. And then that fight he has, I think I want to say his name was Muhammad or he was either Muhammad or Abdul.
Mm,
And the
mm.
fight he has that's similar to another fight that Bruce Lee has in one of his movies, where it's Bruce Lee versus this towering, lanky dude with the fro, and they're just going at it. And Spike's, his martial arts and his fighting styles and his philosophy was really influenced by Bruce Lee. The way he's just like, you have to be cool and calm like water, cool, calm, collected like water.
You
And
got
I
to be
really enjoyed
water.
that. Yeah, sometimes it beats down, and
No,
sometimes it's gentle. And I really enjoyed that philosophy and that those fight scenes as well. Those fluidity of the fight scenes, the music, it was almost like every time they fought, they were dancing, especially in the first episode.
yeah, no. What I would talk about, or what I thought about before we started recording, was how much emotion is conveyed just by Spike's fighting and
Hmm.
his movements through it. Because when he's cool, he's calm, he's collected. Everything is a lot more smooth, and he moves very much like water around
Yeah,
everyone, which just shows his mental state that he's calm, he's fine.
he's
Um,
always cool, he's
but
always collected.
yeah, but when he's against the clown guy, what's his name?
I forgot his name, but I know what you're talking about. And he's
Yeah,
facing.
so when he's facing the clown guy, it's a French name, um, but being the only person that is besides vicious that is formidable, you know,
Hmm.
when
Yeah,
Spike is fighting him, you can see without any dialogue that he is very much scared and just trying to sort of survive, really,
hmm,
because he's frantically looking for cover, and his shots are a lot more frequent when he's shooting at people, or when
yeah,
he's shooting at him, and just to show and movement and animation, just that sort of mental state is really, I really really do appreciate that. And also, uh, also to say, because Spike gets cocky a lot,
hmm.
um, so whenever he does get cocky too, I always like it that they add him bouncing around a bit more. Like
The Bruce Lee bounce when he goes.
yeah, no, he does the Bruce Lee bounce when he's feeling himself, and
Yeah,
it's just it's so great that I just by looking at how he's moving, I can tell exactly what his mental state is.
yeah, I really enjoyed that, and especially, they made a move. They made a Cowboy Bebop movie. It was released in 2001. Now it takes in between
Yeah.
episode 23, the 22 and 23, I believe. But
Mhm.
there's a fight scene where he fights this one girl, and he fights her with the broom, and he does that little Bruce Lee bounce, and he's really feeling himself. He's talking to the girl. He's just like, "I love a girl that could kick my ass," and he's fighting with her. You just see the fluidity, how he's feeling himself. He knows that he's got it in the bag. He's cool, calm, collected, and you just see how that fight scene is just fluid, and it moves like sort of like water, like a stream. It's just continuous. It's smooth. There's no interruptions or anything. And I really like
Yeah.
how Watanabe and his crew was able to animate that and really able to portray that.
Yeah, no, I think his studio name is Bones.
Hmm. Something
So
like
they animate so well, because every single fight scene, I was totally enthralled and absorbed into the action. Just because again, not to overuse the term, but it's fluid. It
yeah,
all of the lines, when they get a little bit exaggerated and they get blurry, just it's such a nice and satisfying smooth movement of like their arms or their legs, how they're running and stuff. And everyone has a different sort of running animation too.
yeah,
um Spikes is a lot like water again, where he's just sort of like a stream going down river,
hmm,
totally fine and smooth. And then you have say Jets running, which is a lot
bulky,
heavier.
yeah,
Yeah, where every single step, he's sort of leaning to one side to try and get further and further. And then you have um, phase phase running, which is a lot more. I need to say it.
Ang-
Uh,
it's not angry,
it's a lot more flashy. That's what
yeah,
it is. Yeah, so she's a lot more flashy when she's running. She does do the classic girl pose too, of
hmm,
a girl running with her arms out, but that's also to to make others think make others conceive an image of her so that she can take advantage of them. So she's
Hmm.
really really smart about that. And
Yeah.
Ed is just fun.
Yeah.
I think Ed is one of the greatest examples of how much fluid movement they have
Hmm.
or they put into the show because you know her her arms are just so exaggerated and become noodles and she walks on her arms and legs and head it
Yeah.
and just all those exaggerated sort of limbs that they have are really really awesome to just look at and it's just such eye candy
Yeah.
just seeing her walking around the bebop. I think really,
Yeah.
really, really speaks to it that even in the most mundane circumstances, their animation is still top notch.
Yeah. Yeah. I perfectly agree. Yeah, and the animation, the fluidity of it, I just enjoy. I love it. It's like one of the most fluid anime I've seen. And also, Watanabe he created Samurai Champloo, which I heard was also an amazing show, which
Oh,
I need to watch too. I want to watch
I
too.
wanna watch, I wanna watch that next. Like
Yeah.
even if you don't give it to me,
No.
I saw it on Hulu and I really want to watch it.
No.
Although I
Yeah, I want
know
to watch it too.
there is this other space show
Space
that
Dandy.
Space Dandy, space anime that he directed. I've watched
Hmm.
the entire thing. Again, I can only imagine it in English, and it was actually released first in English and then in Japanese.
Japanese.
Um, and I don't know, it's a different show, but kind of like the same
Hmm.
in a way,
Oh
where
yeah.
it has really high highs and you feel really goofy while watching it, but at times, usually at the end, it just brings you down to that sort of mellow feel, like whoa, this is deep. Especially at the end when you figure out because it's very episodic. Every
Hmm.
episode really, I mean, they just do their own thing, and it doesn't feel like it has an impact on the other one. And when you find
Yeah.
out how they're all connected at the very end, well, it's so great.
Yeah.
Um,
Same thing
but
with
you know,
Cowboy Bebop. Oh,
well, no, go ahead, go ahead.
oh no, I was just gonna say same thing with Cowboy Bebop. You know, when people try to analyze it, they really can't because each episode is its own thing, and it's not until you get into farther into the show, like the last couple of episodes, where you really start to see what the main storyline was. But other than that, from the beginning to let's say almost like three quarters in, it's really
Mm.
just random events. You know, the crew just trying to get their bounty, trying to get their money and survive. And
It,
that's what I also really enjoyed about it because there was really no plot, but it allowed the characters to develop, and then it introduced you to the plot and their past and all the hidden meaning that they had, and I really enjoyed that.
yeah, no, I really enjoy that too because it definitely was really episodic. I would say it's kind of a mixture between an episodic show and a syndicated show
Hmm.
because some of the episodes do have a consequence on the subsequent ones. Like
Yeah.
when the show first starts out with Spike and Jet, but
Hmm.
they eventually find Ein and then they find Faye and Ed, and they all become members of the show.
Be
And then also when they find Faye's was it beta
hmm.
tape,
Yeah.
that also has a subsequent effect on or has an effect on subsequent episodes. Um, but a lot of it is definitely entire its entirely owned episode. There's this one episode where you don't leave shit in the fridge, where it's just an entire episode dedicated to being a nice homage of the
To
first Alien
Alien.
movie.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Yeah,
it was an
and
Alien
I
reference there.
I loved it so much. It was so amazing. Um, and yeah, so I guess it is kind of really hard to animate or to analyze it, but
Yeah.
there is
Also.
definitely there there's a connection between a lot of the episodes, and I
Yeah.
really enjoy that. And for people who like that, I think they would really like Cowboy Bebop too.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
I would highly recommend Cowboy Bebop, and
yeah,
also, just I like the aesthetic of it, the aesthetic of the show that it gives. You know, the quotes, you're gonna carry that weight. You know,
Dude,
And
you are.
Steve Bloom's voice, uh, see Space Cowboy, or the I think that's session number three, Honky Tonk Woman, when Faye tells her that, or not Faye, yeah, Faye tells her that she's like, see you, Space Cowboy, and he's like, see you later, Romany. I thought that was really good. I thought like the way they played on words, and honestly, I can't. We could talk about the ending, but I feel like that's something for people to experience on their own. But
That,
honestly, again, Steve Bloom's voice acting, the way at the end, after everything, he's just like bang and just drops. But and the other episode too, where it's, I think it's not taking my potato. I think it's a waltz for Zizzy. When he throws the harmonica up in the air, he's just like, he's just like, the hell if I know. He throws the harmonica up in the air, and you see it as it's coming down. He doesn't actually shoot it. He goes bang,
oh
and it just
yeah,
ends.
dude,
I just love that.
I love that episode. Also, to touch on the ending,
Mm-hmm.
not to spoil anything, but I spoiled myself on
Mm.
the key death that happens in the episode,
Mm.
which I hate because I remember I was watching, I think like a Watch Mojo
Mm.
list like years ago, and it it was like the top 10 saddest anime moments, and that death was on it.
Oh,
So when I watched the show and I eventually saw it, I was like, oh no, no,
like I
I already
never
knew it was
knew.
gonna happen.
No,
I
but
was
yeah,
so
honestly,
mad.
I really like the ending, and then just the way, Spike and Vicious, they're, and it also touches into that Western theme of honor, because back in the westerns, at least in westerns, people really don't have the moral compass, and cowboys and outlaws, they usually don't rely on Christian values or, biblical meaning. They usually rely on their code of honor, whether they're a trustworthy person or not. And I think
Yeah,
that really plays well with Vicious and Spike, because they, when they're fighting in Ballad of, hold up,
when they're
yeah,
fighting
no,
in
when
ballad.
they're fighting towards the end, but also like in session, I think five or six, Battle of the Fallen Angels,
Yeah,
when they're fighting each other, and they're fighting as equals. Vicious doesn't look down on him; he looks at him as his equal. And towards the end too, or at least the ending fight scene of the show, when when they're fighting each other, and they see that Vicious has Spike's gun and Spike has Vicious' sword, and they have that sense of honor, and Vicious has that sense of honor towards Spike. He's like, I want to fight you as my equal, and they throw each other their preferred weapon, and they go back at it again. And that's what I really enjoyed. I really thought played well.
no, yeah, I really enjoy that too. It was um it was definitely like a very Western thing as well, because
Mm-hmm.
it's like the last gunfight in a Western movie where everything builds
Yeah.
up to this one gunfight. Two men, one has to leave alive, and there's usually music swelling, and there's a
Mm-hmm.
long pause before the action starts, and then it stops, and that is exactly how Vicious and Spike operate whenever they fight and see each other, which is only two
Yeah.
times, I believe.
Yeah. But honestly, I really enjoyed it. And then the way, at least when he finally confronts his past with the woman he used to love, and he meets her again, and what happens to her, and he just says, and she just tells him it was all a dream. He's just like, yeah, all a dream. And then that connects back to like when he saw, at least when he saw what happened to the woman he used to love happen to her, when he saw that event happen to her, he realized, oh, I wasn't asleep. Oh, I was awake this entire time. I wasn't dreaming. And that ties back to the quote that he told Faye, I'm going back there to see if I'm really alive, because he always thought that he was he was living a dream. And I didn't finish that full quote when he was talking about his eye, when he says one sees the past, the other one sees the present. He's just like, and constantly, I feel like I'm constantly living in a dream. And when
Mm.
he says about going back to the syndicate, he's just like, I'm not going there to see if I'm to die. I'm going there to see if I'm really alive. And that really just sort of hits the meaning. It's just like, I'm going back there to see whether I finally realized this wasn't a dream, and I'm going back to face the reality of it. I really enjoyed that.
I really enjoyed that too.
And you know what else I also enjoyed?
What else did you also enjoy?
Let's talk about the good. Let's talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah, I was waiting. I was waiting. This was the movie I alluded to in the beginning when I was talking about some stuff.
But
Let me
yeah,
tell you. Let me tell
honestly,
you. Oh wait. Before we get into this, we gotta
great
give our
talk.
rating for Cowboy
Uh,
Bebop.
Cowboy Bebop classic, 9.5 out of 10 for me.
Classic, 10 out of 10 for me. Don't even worry about
Okay,
it.
all right. Now on to
Okay, but
the good, the bad, and the ugly.
the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now listen. I got a lot
Mhm.
to say about it. It's my
All
favorite
right.
movie of all time. All right,
Mhm.
just to tell you. Uh, but I want to hear your thoughts.
Okay. So I, when I first started watching the movie, it was all right. Like honestly, I did not know it was 3 hours long. But anyway, when I was watching it, you had that opening. I believe that opening was really long too. No, but you have that opening with Tuco, one of the main characters, being about to get hung, and for his crimes and things like that. And next, you see Clint Eastwood out of nowhere, helping him escape because they have a pact and a bond, or at least a contract. And usually the movie just revolves about around three main characters, which is um, the good, which is Clint Eastwood. They never really say his name. They only refer to him as Blondie.
Yeah, he's Blondie.
He's Blondie. Tuco Ramirez, or the Rat. He's another one of the main characters, and you also have Angel Eyes, which is the bad.
Lee
And it
Van Cleef.
Yes, and it just revolves around them, and the story takes center in the middle of the Civil War, and they're off to find. It just starts like old shenanigans. It's survival of the fittest, dog eat dog, and you really don't see a plot starting until I feel like the middle of the movie when Tuco and Blondie find out about the treasure that's in Sad Hill. But
Yeah,
that's for a later topic. But my thoughts on it, because I told you when I recommended Cowboy Bebop, I told you it was a space western and it followed the line of a western. Story plot. It has a main character about his past, outlaw, bounty hunter, things like that. And in this movie, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, there was surprisingly none of that, which I found really interesting. Of course, you get into the past of who Tuco was before when he meets his brother, but they really don't go into deep to that. And he really doesn't face his past. He moves on from his past. And when I told you, I thought it was a western, but it didn't follow a traditional western plot or western storyline, which I thought was really interesting.
yes. Okay. Well,
Yeah, and also what
no, I.
else? Well, and I just
Mhm.
want to say, this was my first Clint Eastwood movie that I've seen from start to finish, and I kind of enjoyed Clint Eastwood's acting. Not gonna lie, because I feel like always the only other movie I've seen him in, and I've only seen him in pieces, was Gran Torino.
Oh, okay. That's a fantastic movie, by the way.
No, Gran Torino was a good movie, but I only saw it in pieces, and that I only saw him when he was old, not when he was younger. And
Mm.
I really enjoyed his presence, the way he gave that sort of nonchalant, cool vibe, calm, cool, collected, and I really
Mm.
enjoyed it, and the way all the characters have that chemistry, especially Clint Eastwood and Tuco Ramirez.
Mm.
And by the way, Tuco Ramirez is the name of the character in the movie, not the actual person who plays him. But yeah, and I just thought they had a good chemistry. They were sort of friends, sort of not. They were sort of business partners and things like that. And you really see their relationship develop.
Mm.
And I really enjoyed the ending as well. I thought the ending was a good ending. But as I said before, when I told you about this, what I thought was a good movie, but it didn't really follow that traditional Western. 5, and you said to wait to talk for the podcast about this, and I want to see what were you gonna say about that.
Okay. Okay. So how I say be prepared for about an hour of me talking.
Yeah.
This is the movie that will be literally me an hour of me talking.
All
Um,
right. Sounds good.
all right. All right. So be prepared. We might split this in two again, just because of me. Uh, but so to give some background, this movie directed by Sergio Leone and was Sergio Leone. Now he's my favorite director. First off,
Hmm.
I'll have you watch another one of his movies when I feel it's right for the podcast.
All right.
Uh, but he's Italian, and
Hmm.
he grew up watching westerns,
Hmm.
and he loved westerns. But as he grew older, he wanted to start his own restaurant because he became a filmmaker.
Yeah.
I think he started out with Spartacus, or that might no, I think that's a Kubrick movie, but he started out with like a Roman movie. Um, but then he got into a movie, or then he made a movie called For a Fistful of Dollars, which is the first in a trilogy called the Dollars trilogy,
Hmm.
which relates to The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, because this is the
Mm.
third movie of the trilogy.
Oh.
Um, so there's a fistful of dollars for a few dollars more, and The Good,
Good,
the
the
Bad,
bad.
and the Ugly.
Oh,
All have
okay.
Clint Eastwood in them. The second movie has Eli Wallach, which I don't know. The second movie has Lee Van Cleef. I'm sorry,
Hmm.
who is Angel Eyes in this movie. Um, and it just when you watch it through, they're not meant to be connected,
Hmm.
uh, except for like Clint Eastwood's character, who's always been the stranger.
Hmm.
But it has a nice fluidity with it,
Hmm.
which I really like. And also, for a few dollars more, just to give some trivia, is actually a remake or a reimagining of the movie Yojimbo, which was a Japanese movie. It's kind of like a
Mm.
Ronin about a samurai, and it follows almost the same exact plot line, which is really nice because a little known fact was that there were a lot of Western movies that were basically remakes of older Japanese
Right.
movies.
Yeah.
Yeah, older Ronin movies, which is just a nice fun fact. But Sergio Leone basically made the trilogy, and while you're watching it, you see the progression of a filmmaker, you know, really just honing his craft. And the good, the
Hmm.
bad, and the ugly is his peak for it. Oh,
Oh.
not like his peak. His last movie is his peak,
Mm.
but this is like his peak for westerns to me. Arguably, Once Upon a Time in the West is also his peak. Um, he's kind of like a Kubrick fellow who
Mm.
every time he releases a movie, you know it's good. Like
Uh,
you know it's an instant classic, you know?
kind of like
And
Tarantino.
kind of
Kind of
like
like Tarantino.
Tarantino. Yeah.
Okay.
You know it's a classic, except for
Hmm.
Death Proof. Nobody talks about that movie. It's terrible. But to really get into the movie, this is one of the most influential westerns of all time. If you still have cable, basically, and haven't
Hmm.
migrated to streaming services altogether, um, it's one of the beer commercials, either Modelo or Corona.
Yeah, but it's Modelo, where they have
It's
that
Modelo.
song when
They
Tico's running through the graves.
yeah, where they have the same theme. It's
Yeah.
um, it still finds its way into modern day, um, and, and into just the modern day. And
Hmm.
that's how influential the music is. And when I was talking about how music becomes synonymous with the film or the show, there is you can't replace this music from the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah, you can.
It's it is its soundtrack, and
Hmm.
everybody can parody it and do whatever. But when you hear that, it's the good, the bad, and the
And the
ugly.
ugly. Honestly,
It's
now that I hear now, every time I hear that song, I'll probably remember the good, the bad, and the ugly. Because when I heard that song, in that scene where Tuco's in the graveyard, and he's running through it. Honestly, that kind of reminded me of just like the Modelo commercial.
yeah,
I was just thinking of beer. But now every time I watch a Modelo commercial, I'm gonna think about the good and bad, the good, the bad, and the ugly, which I thought
Because
was really good.
it was the original. Um, yeah, no, it's called The Ecstasy of Gold, and it is a fantastic um, it is a fantastic just track in general.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, also this is the work between Sergio Leone and Ennio Morricone, who
Hmm.
made the entire soundtrack. They have a legendary history of working
Mm.
together. For me, I I really can't ever see movies without music. I think they've
Oh
really
yeah,
become they've really become synonymous with
synonymous.
each
Yeah, they
other.
do.
Where a movie is just it is so elevated when it has such a great track to go behind it.
Yeah, and also
Um,
music adds that extra, that spice to it. It adds to the scenery. Like going back to Neon Genesis Evangelion, when uh, Shinji has Kaoru in his hands, you just hear, I think, Oud the Joy is playing
mm,
while he holds him, and you just hear the 53 seconds that Oud the Joy just adds that tension to it, and it really adds to that scene. So when you say that music is synonymous to the craft, I honestly do truly believe that, because you can't watch an action scene without any music or without something in the background. Because honestly, if you just look at it, it's just dudes running around punching each other, and that doesn't make it entertaining. That doesn't want to get you. Well, that doesn't make you go to the edge of your seat. It's the music. It's the noise in the background that it's making that gives you that I'm about to fall off the edge of my seat sort of feeling.
yeah, no, exactly. And it's just it's so good, It fits so well. And actually, um, this was one of the movies that Sergio Leone really wanted to get the soundtrack done before he started filming, but couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm.
so I think he only had a few of the songs done uh, before he made the movie, or before he started shooting.
Mm.
But I know at the very end when it's at the final gunfight,
Mm-hmm.
the final duel,
Yeah.
he shot that, got a lot of coverage for it because he knew he was going to edit it
Mm-hmm.
to the trio, which is the track
Yeah.
that plays over it, which is it's one of the best Western tracks that ever committed to film,
Mm.
in my opinion.
Mm. Okay.
Um, but yeah, so that's sort of that's a lot of the background to the movie. Now this is the movie where this is the Western that Sergio Leone wanted to comment the most about just Westerns in general and really wanted to
Mm.
dissect Westerns because most Westerns, if you hadn't noticed, take place during the Civil War. And like you
Yeah.
said, this takes place in the middle of the Civil War. It's no different than a regular Hollywood Western in that sense. But in a regular Hollywood Western, you wouldn't see the horrors of the Civil War,
Or.
how it really affected everybody. War is terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then so placing this again in the middle of the Civil War isn't just to go with the standard of being in the middle of the Civil War uh, while as a Western. It's not just to be one of the tropes. It's just sort of say, hey, this is how it really was, how the
Mm.
Civil War really affected people. I,
Yeah, and
I heard
also,
that.
oh
Oh no,
yeah,
no, go on.
continue.
Okay. But I also heard in a documentary that Sergio Leone had a great eye for people. There
Mm.
is in one of the in like the opening of the movie. I think it's the second time you see Angel Eyes
Mm-hmm.
uh, when Clint Eastwood or Blondie is shooting down Tuco or Eli Wallach um, from the horse for the first time from getting
Yeah.
hanged.
Mm-hmm.
There is this guy, Civil War veteran, who lost his legs and is walking around with two
Arms.
like irons.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, with
At
his
the front.
arms. Mm. And you could see that, and you're like, wow, that's a character. Eli Wallach, when at the end, at the final duel, you see that one of the tips of his fingers are missing. He doesn't have a
Yeah.
fingernail there. He cut it. There are plenty of examples. Even when you see the Civil War veterans, there are a lot of people who have lost their arms, lost their
Mm-hmm.
legs. You know, very. It's it's very, very interesting, and you see just in the background how war affects these people, how much they've lost because of it, and just for fighting for slavery.
Hmm.
Um, and especially when it all comes to a head, because the Civil War was always in the background. We're chasing after a Confederate treasure. Um, it was no, 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 it's Lee Van Cleef's character,
Yeah.
um, Angel Eyes, who was directly in the Civil War. Yeah, who's directly in the Civil War, fighting on the side of the Union,
Hmm.
um, trying to get what he wants from Bill Carson. Uh, but you know, that's all to sort of set up and to give you a glimpse of what the Civil War was like,
Yeah.
and then all comes to a head during the bridge scene where they blow up the bridge, or where
Hmm.
the all of the or where the Union and the Confederates are staged opposite of each other, fighting in
Yeah.
a war, and how much of a toll it took just on the general,
Hmm.
who has been wanting to blow up
That
the
bridge,
bridge.
because there was no meaning to it, and like when he said, he's just like, I could save thousands of men just by blowing up this bridge, and he really saw this. He saw the strain that that bridge was taking on his men and on his and on his army as well, because it's just like, I don't want to put my men through all that bloodshed and loss just for some dumb bridge who still want to attack, and soon after this will become meaningless.
Exactly, and it comments on how the Civil War actually was during the time,
Yeah.
of the film being, or of how like westerns are staged in, and it's so smart in that way. Just as like the one little microcosm of how the good, the bad, and the ugly just inverts all of the Western tropes. You know, usually in a Western too, there is good versus evil. You know,
Hmm.
there there's a Western hero that you follow, John Wayne character, and then
Yeah.
he goes up against the villain of the movie. But in this movie, it's very interesting. I name this fact all the time. But if you look at the kill count, um, Clint Eastwood, who was labeled the good, kills the most people in the movie. He has 11 kills in the movie, while
Yeah.
Lee Van Cleef's character only kills, I think, two or three.
Yeah. No,
But
no, that's
he's
what I
the
was gonna
bad.
that's what I was gonna go to it too, because as I said before, like, it doesn't follow your typical Western where it's, and usually sometimes Westerns follow, usually it's either after the Civil War, before the Civil War, or after like the Mexican War. Because if you notice, something a little off topic, but in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, when Rick Dalton was playing his role, they were in Tijuana, or they were somewhere near the Mexican border, and I think that happened a little after the Mexican American War, and was almost going to start into the Civil War, which I thought, and that really plays into like the theme of westerns. And when I saw it here, it was in the middle of the Civil War rather than before or after it. And also, to talk about Clint Eastwood's character, is I realized that the good really wasn't that good. So why was he called the good? Was it because he was good looking, or what was up? Because like you said, like, he does kill the most people, and he's also the most diligent, and like the most I don't want to say lying, but the most weasel out of like everybody else. Because when he left Tuco to be hanged, he just like dipped with his reward and left him. And then when Tuco goes back to hunt him, or to hunt him down, he finds him again, and it's just that, on and off thing, and you really see that the good really isn't that good.
Yeah, no, exactly. It, um, you know, none of these characters in the movie are good. I mean,
Yeah.
arguably, I think Tuco is the greatest person there. But I'm biased because I love Tuco. He's the funniest guy in the world, and
Yeah.
to play off Clint Eastwood is so amazing. A guy who's no nonsense, doesn't want to talk or anything, and Tuco who can't shut up.
Yeah.
It makes for some great comedic moments. I mean,
Yeah.
there's serious, you know, there's a lot of seriousness in this movie. You know, especially when you get into the Civil War, and then you also get into abuse when or, like the abuse of how the Union was,
Hmm.
sometimes in the prisoner camps when Tuco impersonates Phil Carson and is called into question and gets the shit beaten out of him. You
Yeah.
know, where you know, I mean, you really feel every punch and how he squeezes, or how the big guy just squeezes his eyes out.
Is out.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, tries to engage. Oh, by the way, there's a little film. There was a little technique that they used,
Hmm.
just because I know everything about this movie. Um, where it looks like he's digging, or he's really pushing down under his eyes, or like onto his eyes, but he's
Hmm.
really just kind of digging into his the right right on top of your eyes, the skull,
Oh.
this just the bone part. It
Oh.
wasn't
Okay.
like super painful, just so that his eyes wouldn't really bulge out.
Hmm.
Eli Walks, to say Tuco's character, or
Yeah.
Tuco, but just a nice little film technique, and also just a nice positioning of the camera.
Yeah.
It's cool. It's cool. It's fantastic. To learn all of that, but you feel all of that, and that's really serious, and you have a real sense of you get a real sense of being threatened, by
Hmm.
who Angel Eyes is and what he's capable of, how smart he is, how methodical he is, uh, and how ruthless he is, really,
Hmm.
and how when the music plays, or when the prisoners are forced to play music and hide
Yeah.
all the screaming and shouting, how serious that is, and
Hmm.
how all of them know, and one of the prisoner inmates just starts crying. He sheds a
Yeah.
tear while playing because he can't do anything about it. There's real serious, heavy moments, just like in Cowboy Bebop. But it doesn't let it take center stage all the time.
Yeah.
There's obviously needs to um, there's definitely a need for the audience to sort of have some time to have levity. There's this great movie. It's called The Seventh Seal. I just
Hmm.
recently watched it, and
Mm.
it was directed by Ingmar Bergman, who still is.
Okay.
I think he died a little while
Oof.
ago,
Rip.
or he's still alive. I'm not sure, but um, well, he used to say, because Seventh Seal it talks a lot about death and stuff,
Hmm.
and the effects death has on its characters, and sort of going through the motion. That's a really dramatic subject, and when you talk about death, you usually there's a lot of weight carried with it.
Yeah.
Um, but there's also a lot of moments of levity,
Hmm.
where you're allowed to laugh and have fun with the movie, and it's not all about being so melodramatic. And Ingmar Bergman talks about in an interview how he felt a great responsibility to his audience to show them that, or to make them enjoy themselves in the movie theater, and to not always have dour moments, or
Yeah.
to not have your entire film be so sad. That there
Hmm.
has to be moments of levity in them, for the audience to really care, and to make the harder, like, more emotional things have that much more of an impact, because you have those moments of levity
Yeah.
to contrast with those really hard hitting
Hard hitting
moments that
moments.
are in the same film.
Yeah.
It's
No,
really
it's
really
understandable.
smart.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it is, and I think you see a lot of that in the good, the bad, and the ugly. When you have that tense moment when Tuco gathers up his crew to go get Blondie, and after Blondie kills them and everything, you just hear Tuco whistle, and he's just like, when you can't get through the door, you use the window, and that was that one comedic relief to release that tension of Clint Eastwood out here gunslinging, and on on his tiptoes, like on alert. Meanwhile, Tuco's just behind him with like a rope, like "Yoo-hoo, I'm over here," and
Yeah.
just give that sort of other contrast. Just like, oh, like that seriousness moves to like this one comedic moment, just for that comedic moment, and also for that tense moment, that tense scene to have more of a meaningful impact. And
No, exactly.
yeah, and I feel like the most that has the most meaningful impact in is the desert scene when Tuco makes Blondie walk that was 100 miles in the desert, and you have
Oh
moments of
yeah.
Tuco mocking him, having some comedic relief to take to, you know, ease the tension, and then you have other scenes where it's just Clint Eastwood on the verge of dying of dehydration, which gives that very tense, that very dark moment, and then Tuco over here, laughing, and sometimes he pulls a little prank on her or pulls a little trick to get that sort of comedic value in. And I just see that there's a lot of that in that movie, in that film.
Yeah, no, there is, and definitely the desert scene is one of the most hard scenes to watch for me a little bit.
Hmm.
Just because Clint Eastwood character suffered so much, and you
Yeah,
really see the how much of a toll that it takes on you. You kind of see it with Tuco when Clint Eastwood leaves him for dead the first
yeah,
time, but and you really feel his struggle. But when you see it with Clint Eastwood, it's a lot more dragged out, and you feel a lot more sorry for the guy.
right.
And then that also plays into how nobody's really good. You know, it's
Hmm.
called the good, the bad, and the ugly, but really everybody's ugly.
Yeah.
Tuco is the ugly, where he can have moments of just being a real asshole. Like
Hmm.
in the desert scene, I was kind of mad at him
Yeah, it's
because
not gonna lie, so was I. Like, it was funny, but at the same time, like, you douche. Like, come on.
yeah, but also you can sort of understand where he came from, but at the same time you also don't feel like it's justified.
Yeah.
Um, and it creates that inner conflict in you that a lot of westerns don't do. Where a lot of the Hollywood westerns, that's why I make such a distinction between spaghetti and Hollywood westerns,
What else, right?
because there's just spaghetti westerns make you think,
Hmm.
and Hollywood westerns usually just have the
For
good
sure.
and the bad. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and the good, the bad, and the ugly was the first movie, or not the first movie, but definitely helped out in the Western scene to show all the sides
Yeah.
of a Western, and really it really taking all of those Western tropes and dissecting them and showing how it really would affect everyone and how it really would affect these figures.
Yeah, I perfectly agree. And also, what else was I going to talk about? Because there's so much that happened in that movie. Um, you
Fantastic
know,
movie.
yeah, honestly, it was. What I also like, I like also more towards the end, the way, again, like, how I told you, like, mainly Westerns focus on that sense of honor, and the way Clint Eastwood distribute his sense, or he showed his sense of fairness and honor was when he's just like, I wrote the name underneath this rock. Whoever wins the shootout gets to have the name and gets to have the treasure. And he gave everybody a fair shot, although after you find out that he really didn't because he emptied Tuco's gun from the bullets, he only gave him one to shoot at Angel Eyes, and after that his gun was unloaded, and Clint Eastwood took care of, you know, of killing Angel Eyes, but he also was one step ahead of everybody because he kind
Mm.
of rigged it to his favor, and he did have that sense of honor, but at the same time that cheating, that that ugliness of, why would you empty this guy's gun in the middle of a shootout that you proposed? So you, as you said, like, there's really nobody that's good or bad. It's just mainly they're all ugly, and I really think that that scene really summed it up, or that scene really showed how ugly people can be.
No, exactly. It really does. It highlights everything about it. Um, the whole movie is about it, really,
Yeah,
where it shows it shows how ugly people can be, especially um, when searching for money. You
yeah.
know, it's all about personal gain
Hmm.
in spaghetti westerns. In a Hollywood western,
It was more
it's
of this
all
of the righteousness, the more of the code of honor, the code of to do what's right.
exactly, but not the case. Not the case in this movie,
No, yeah,
which I really do love and I dig so much. Um, because it's so real. I
yeah,
mean, when you're faced with that much of a large, uh, that much money, it could drive people insane. It could drive people
yeah,
to do really horrible things, and it goes into the human reactions that people
yeah,
would have during that. You know, they're all ruthless to each other. They all trick each other, and they all push each other down until finally, at the end of the final duel, they're all confronted, and they have to make a decision right there and then,
yeah,
while they're at the finish line.
yeah. I kind of I agree with that, and you could also see when Tuco tries to get that name or the name of the grave out of Clint Eastwood. And he's like, okay, I'll tell you something if you tell me something. And you really see the meticulousness of Clint Eastwood when he tells him the fake name, because I honestly thought that was the real name.
Oh yeah.
Because Clint Eastwood was constantly asking, "Where are we going? Where are you taking me?" And Tuco was just like, "No, it's all right. I know we'll get there. You just tell me the name." But Clint Eastwood didn't render, and also it's part of Clint Eastwood's character too. Like he won't talk because he knows it won't help him. So when Angel Eyes calls in Clint Eastwood at the Confederate prison camp, and he tells him, he's just like, "What happened to Tuco?" He's just like, "Oh, he's still alive." He's just like, "But I know." He's like, "What do you want?" He's like, "I know you want information." He's just like, "Yeah, I do, but you won't talk." He's like, "Nah." He's like, "Exactly, because you know it won't help you." And you really show just kind of that I have to do this in order to survive, because you know that Clint Eastwood wouldn't talk, and it's in his character. It's in his character's personality that he's not the type to talk. He would rather take it to the grave, and he almost did when he was dehydrated in the desert, and Bill Carson told Clint Eastwood the name of the grave or where the money was located. He was ready to die with that name, knowing having that upper hand that Tuchel will never find it, because
Yeah.
he knew that that was his key to survival. He's like, I know this name now. I'll have to survive. Tuchel will have to keep me alive in order for him to get that money.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, but also towards the end as well, like the setup, how it ended the way it started. Tuchel hanging on the rope and Clint Eastwood getting ready to shoot. And I honestly
Yeah.
thought he was going to leave him there until you see Clint Eastwood come back, load up the rifle, aim, toss. And then you also see like the fairness of it too. At the end of the day, Clint Eastwood still sees something in Tuco, because if he really wanted to, Clint Eastwood could have taken Tuco's share, the 4 bags of 100,000. He could have taken it, but when he mounted up on his horse and he left Tuco hanging, he's just like, "Here's our share of the deal, 4 bags each, 100,000 each," and he just rides
Yeah.
away. So you still see that he has that sort of relationship for he has that sort of respect towards Tuco, where to the point where he's just like, "I'll honor our agreement, I'll honor our contract and our deal." And I just really liked about I really liked the that was one of the things I liked about Clint Eastwood's character, that he at the end of the day he still stuck with the contract, or with what was dealt.
Yeah. No, definitely. Um, he he is the guy who will most keep his word, and I guess
Mm-hmm.
that's what makes him the good, the
The quote
metaphorical
unquote
good.
good. Yeah,
Yeah, the quote unquote. uh,
yeah. And also I kind of like to point out how the movie really depicts how everybody's smart in their own way.
yeah.
Stupo's really good at manipulating people, and also when you look into the scene where he takes it to town, and he breaks into I think into the market.
Mm,
Oh, excuse me, and he asks the cash register, or he asks the guy running it. He's just like, "Where are your guns? Where are your revolvers?" And he pulls out all the revolvers, the Colt, the Remington, um, the Navy, and you see Tuco, his smart side deals, the way he disarms the guns, puts each separate parts together to make one totally like OP gun.
mm,
And you see the way Clint Eastwood is smart too, the way he was able to trick Tuco into thinking that he got the real name of the grave, because he knew what was going to happen next. And also Angel Eyes, the way he could use his power and his rank to meticulously and get what he wanted. And you could also see it in the scene where it's just Angel Eyes and Blondie in the wilderness, and Blondie just automatically shoots one of Angel Eyes' men. And the way that Angel Eyes was able to, just sort of like have his men like in the background, even though Clint Eastwood eventually found out. It just shows how everybody's smart, and the way they think. And I really enjoyed that, especially in an environment where you have to be slick, you have to be fast, and you have to be ruthless in order to survive.
yeah. No, I'm really appreciative that you brought that up because it's something I don't think a lot of people. talk about how smart all of them are. And
Yeah.
just to give a little bit of trivia on the scene where Tuco makes his own OP gun,
Hmm.
that was entirely improvised.
Mm.
What happened was Sergio Leone wanted that scene, and he gave Eli Wallach, the actor of Tuco, he gave Eli Wallach the one direction, which is have fun, you know, have fun, and deconstruct deconstruct these revolvers and have fun with it. Put it together one way, put it together another way, and play with the scene.
No, yeah, and also you could see how he was really playful with the scene, the way he acted. After coming out of the desert, he breaks in. All stumbly. He gets the bottle, pops up the cork, opens it, drinks it. He's just like, "You revolvers now," and the old guy is just scared, uncertain. He's just like, "Okay, use the revolver." He's like, "No." And he's like, okay, I have other revolvers over here and this and that. And then at the end of that scene, when Tuco gets the close sign and puts it in his mouth, you could really tell that he was having fun there, the way he did everything. He was just like, whoop, like really playful. And also, he's just like, how much do you have? He's just like, I don't have a lot. He's like, how much do you have? He's like, 200. He's like, all right, give it to me. He's like, fine. And you can really see, I was kind of laughing because you saw just how the other guy had no idea what was going on. Meanwhile, Tuco out here enjoying himself, with the liquor, the guns, and the money. And I thought that was a really good scene.
Oh no, I think every single scene in this movie to me is a fantastic. It's just so fantastic. I think it was Chris Stuckman who said it best, where Sergio Leone is a fantastic director of situations,
Mm,
where these characters keep on getting themselves into different situations, and they react so intelligently,
yeah,
and it's enthralling to see them find their way out of these positions
yeah,
and progress into the next scene and into the next one and into the next one until finally they get to the final tool. Um, it's so fantastic. I'd like to mention the scene where Tuco is being put on the train to go to another prison camp,
yeah,
and he he convinces the guard that he's was handcuffed to let him pee outside of the train or while the train door is open, and he just pulls him down with him.
yeah,
It's smart, and then he grabs a rock and crushes his head. You know, just that situation. All the consequences of his actions previously had led him up to the train, and then that seems like the end for him. But he acts intelligently in this situation where he
yeah,
does that. He convinces he manufactures his own escape that way. And also, again, nice bit of trivia because I love this movie so much. Um, Eli Wallach almost got his head cut off in that scene.
really.
Yeah, no, spaghetti westerns are kind of really interesting or at least back in the day, Italian movies where the laws to do stuff were very flexible. Danger danger was danger,
Yeah,
where Eli Wallach or Tuco puts his handcuffs on the train track and has the
yeah,
train run over them and break the chain.
hmm,
Uh, he's really underneath that train, and that's just because Sergio Leone really wanted his face. He really wanted to see his face
hmm,
while the train was coming on. And there's this little step that goes down from the train.
yeah,
There's this little metal step that goes down
hmm.
lower than the actual like train carts are positioned,
Okay, I see.
and he's like in his own little trench. He fought to dig like or he had
Oof.
this little trench that he dug or that he got to be in,
Hmm.
and you see his face how he's uh, wincing his eyes or closing them shut and
Yeah.
not looking at anything
Hmm.
while the train goes by and breaks his chain. Apparently, if he would have lifted his head up like 1 second before he actually did, after the shot was over, would have had his head cut off.
Jeez.
And then it was funny because Sergio Leone wanted to shoot that scene again, but because he couldn't get like really good coverage of his face, he
Uh,
wanted the trench to be a little bit higher.
uh,
And Eli
Jeez.
Wallach looked at him and he shook his head like, no,
No, no, no, no.
no, that's the one you get.
He's Sergio Leone is just like, all right, I guess I'll have to do. I mean,
I
he
guess.
didn't want to do the other scene again, but oh well, this will do. But
Oh,
yeah,
well,
like this film was really interesting. The way it dove into, their intelligence, the life of westerns, and as you said, like a spaghetti western, because spaghetti western and a Hollywood western are completely different in their own storytelling views and their ways and their storylines in general, their general storylines. I really enjoyed it. Honestly, I gave it a good, for me, a good 8.5 out of 10, just because it's enjoyable. And honestly, I think I'm gonna go back and watch some more Clint Eastwood films because I feel like I never really saw him and never really got to enjoy Dirty Harry was such a good film and things like that.
have you
Like the
not
only
seen Dirty Harry?
no, all I know is just like you have to
Whoa.
ask yourself, do you feel lucky or do you, punk? That's the only line I know, and I've never seen the movie.
Oh, nah, 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 nah. He goes like this. He's like, in all this, in all this chaos, there's something, you know, or he goes to his victim and he says, you know, there should be one question you should be asking yourself right now.
Do I feel
Did he
lucky?
shoot 5 shots or did he shoot 6? Well, seeing as this is a 44 Magnum, the most powerful handgun ever made, and can blow your head clean off, you gotta ask yourself, do you feel lucky? Or do you feel lucky, punk?
It's just
Oh,
like
do you?
yeah, but honestly, I gotta go back because I really feel because I know Clint Eastwood is a good actor. As I said, like I seen him in like Gran Torino like a couple of times when I saw the movie like in parts. But
Mm.
to see him and especially to see himself in like his not his glory days, but like at his peak, it was really interesting to see. But yeah, honestly, I enjoyed the movie. 8.5 out of 10. I still gave it either a 10 out of 10 or a 9.5 out of 10.
No, 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 no. It's a 12 out of 10.
Wow, out of 10. Wow,
It's a,
we're breaking
it,
records here.
hey, we're breaking records, all right? Now you'll see a
Yeah,
lot of me doing the 9 and 10s, but when I get to the 12, that's how you know it's really good.
it's really good. But yeah, honestly, it was a really good film. And if you guys are interested, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly, it is on Netflix. Just a little heads up, it is 3 hours long. So, like, if you have nothing to do all day, I suggest you can watch that movie. And really, there's honestly, when I was watching the movie, I had to watch it in 2 days. Like, I watched an hour and 45 minutes one day, and then I watched the rest the other. And I think about it, if I really watch it through like the entire thing for the full 3 hours, I feel like I wouldn't get lost in the story, nor would I get bored because there's really not a lot happening or nothing eventful that you need to be paying attention to. It's only those key scenes that really bundle up the entire film together.
Yeah, no,
And
I don't think there's a dull moment in this movie. And I
no,
think,
there isn't.
and Sergio Leone is such a great filmmaker that, every time that there is a pause, every time that there is a long silence, it builds. And it's so great and just bringing tension to the film and making you feel uneasy every
Yeah,
single step of the way. And I love those long silences that he has because you don't see that anymore. You don't see that in
no, you
today's
don't.
filmmaking. It's who can be the loudest and who can be the most flashy. It's not let me take my time and let me envelop you in this movie.
Yeah, let's get
Yeah,
serious for a moment, that sort of thing.
exactly,
Yeah, but honestly,
exactly.
8.5 for me, Jacob. 12 out of 10. And again, if you
12
guys are
out of 10.
interested, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly on Netflix. Cowboy Bebop, it's on Hulu. Uh, they have it in both sub and dub. But if you want the full experience, I recommend dub. But again, those were all the things that we had for this podcast, this second podcast. And again, we just want to say thank you so much on behalf of us for supporting the podcast, even though we're two idiots talking about movies and music. But I'm glad to see that you guys are finding some entertainment out of it. Something to do with it, and you guys can really, and hopefully with us, we hope that you guys can, broaden your horizons a little bit, and eventually develop your own ideas and opinions about the films and movies you watch, and also hopefully look at things differently, and just to watch something just to watch it, or to listen to something just to listen to it, but really, try to find deeper meaning, and it really helps you grow and helps you grow your mind a bit, thinking about other things as well. Other than that, yeah, that was our podcast for today. Any last words, Jacob?
Um, all right, I got a couple last words. Hulu has a fantastic selection of anime,
Yes, they do.
and I'm gonna go watch Samurai Champloo. Not gonna lie, and also, you know, Hulu has ads. I
Yeah,
hate it. I hate it. So why would you pay for it for a streaming service? Why would you pay for a service and then have ads in it?
dude. If
Just,
you want,
just
if you want
why?
Hulu without ads, it's like $14 or $15.
I know. I don't want to pay. I don't want to pay that. I'm not even paying for Hulu. I'm taking my girlfriend's Hulu.
Yes, I'm taking my sister's Hulu. But I feel you.
Nice, nice.
No, literally, all the streaming services I have are borrowed. Like Netflix is for the family, of course. Hulu's my sister. My Spotify Premium is a family thing between me and my cousins. My Crunchyroll is from my cousin Gio. Shoutouts to him for letting me use it. Um, but yeah, honestly, just you just gotta survive
Yeah, I guess so.
until I eventually have to pay for my own. But again, last words. You're gonna watch Samurai Champloo. Hulu
Yeah.
ads, even though you pay for it.
Yeah.
And as for me, just take this time, or at least for those of you watching, take this time, to really venture out and discover new things. Because although we are inside, we do have the internet and our thoughts as well. Just to think new things and think about different things and create our own point of views. But other than that, that's this podcast. That's the end of this podcast, and we just want to say again, thank you so much. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
I love
And
this.
and